Hi friends, and welcome back to the channel. It is the end of November, which means it is almost December, which means it is almost time for our 12 days of Thriftmas, where we are going to go into Goodwill every single day to see what goodies we can find to flip online for a profit. However, we need to finish up our series of what actually sold in Thriftmas in July that we did back in July. So today we are going to go through days 9 and 10 of that Thriftmas series to see, have things sold or have they not? This is a really true test of my skills and ability as a reseller. There's also sometimes I fully think that we just get lucky, or that we have a hard time selling something that, like, per the stats should sell. So I'm going to talk you through each and every item that I picked up in days 9 and 10. I'm going to give a little bit of reasoning why I think something might have sold or hasn't sold. And I am of course going to run you through all the important details of how much I paid for it, how much it sold for, and how much profit I made at the end of the day per item and for the entire haul. So without further ado, let's dive right into Thriftmas Day 9 as we go. You know the drill. I am going to be popping up the actual footage from the thrift with me that we did while I was there, just to give you a little bit of refresher for you and me actually of what we were actually picking up. So on Thriftmas Day 9, I spent quite a bit of money. My total spent that day was $128.67, and I picked up 15 items. So that was a really good day, picked up some good stuff, and I've been having a really good success. I'm really happy with this trip. My cost of goods per item was pretty high though. It was $7.90. Some of the other days I had a 20% off discount coupon from donating to the store. I don't think I had one on this day. Plus I picked up a lot of like dresses and jeans and things that are just a little bit pricey. So the first thing I picked up were these Nike Air Max 90. They were like a white and yellow, if I'm remembering the right shoe. You're seeing it right now. I do think these were a good pickup, but these unfortunately have not yet sold. I do know these are pretty saturated. Maybe this specific colorway wasn't the most desirable. I did comp this by the style name and number and decided to pick it up, but for whatever reason it has not yet sold. The next was this Lafayette 148 red blazer, and this unfortunately also hasn't yet sold. So there's going to be some, don't worry, I know I'm not off to a great start here in this video. I remember finding a few Lafayette 148 blazers, either on this exact day or maybe the couple days prior, and actually leaving them all behind. They were pretty dated, they didn't have any good materials, but this was the one I did decide to pick up, and it hasn't yet sold. So maybe that was a bad decision. Lafayette 148 is very expensive retail, but the resale for me is very hit or miss. For me, it tends to sit and then it will usually sell for a decent price. So I'm hoping this is one that's just going to take a little bit longer. We are still on, like, at least for my business, on the shorter end of how long things will take to sell. So fingers crossed. All right, moving into some good sales now. The next one, I picked up another blazer, and it was a Karl Lagerfeld white blazer. This sold on eBay. I accepted an offer for $23, a little bit on the low end, but this is just very much a bread and butter brand for me. It can retail pretty high, but some of them are also sold at like TJ Maxx. I think this was probably one of those, so I accepted $23. It was only listed for 102 days, and I made $12.27. Next was this Victoria's Secret 100% silk, like a baby doll, like sleep dress, nightgown, lingerie type item. I see these quite a bit. I do not pick up all of them. For Victoria's Secret, I usually will pick them up in my Goodwill retail store if they are new with tags, if they are silk, or if they are the gold label, so the vintage ones. This was 100% silk, and it did really well. This sold on eBay for $25.19 after just 5 days, and I made $14.17. Next was this Anthropologie gold Tilda skirt. These like slinky, satiny maxi dresses were absolutely having a moment. They're still a bit trendy, and this was a really cool like gold metallic color. It got a lot of attention both on eBay and on Poshmark. It ended up selling on Poshmark for $45 after 29 days, and I made $25.78. I love finding Anthropologie at my thrift store. I am trying to be a bit more selective, and I remember looking this up, seeing good comps, and those comps were accurate. Next was two items that I bundled together. This was, I think, also one of the reasons why my cost of goods was a little bit high, because I did pay the Goodwill price twice, the $5.29 or whatever it was, for each of these shirts. But when I bundle them together, I only use them as one listing. So the average cost of goods there just gets absorbed into everything else. So even though I actually paid about $10 for both of these, this item is listed as a bundle in my spreadsheet for $7.90. So this item is a little bit less than it actually was, and the other items, it drove them up a little bit. I hope that makes sense. But what I do remember saying in store, I'm going to pick these up. They're going to be pretty basic. I'm paying up for them. I know I'm not going to make a lot, but I know they're going to sell. So that's why I picked them up. I wasn't sure at the time if I was going to bundle them or sell them separately. Based on the comps I was seeing, I thought I could get more value by bundling them. And I think that was a good decision. I think the single shirts, since they're just basic tees, are more saturated. But Quince, keep a lookout for it. They make really good, like high-end basics, really good quality for an affordable retail price, but they hold their value pretty well thus far on the resale market. So these bundled together sold on Poshmark for $35. And they were only listed for 5 days, and I made $20.10 on both of them. Next is a brand that I don't come across all the time, but I really love finding it because it always does so well for me, and that is Peruvian Connection. Peruvian Connection also uses a lot of like Pima cottons and wools and, again, high quality materials. And this was a really pretty like paisley red dress. This might have been the first time I've actually ever found a dress by them. And it sold on eBay for $40 after 48 days, and I made $26.57. So definitely keep an eye out for Peruvian Connection. Next was a pair of a Goldie. I rarely find a Goldie, so I was thrilled when I came across it. These next like 5, 6, 7 are all items I found on the new racks. We were mostly shopping the new racks, and they're all pants in similar sizes. So they were most likely just one person's donation, and I grabbed all of them. So my favorite one of the group were these, and it was these Goldie's 90s like straight leg denim jeans. These sold on Poshmark for $66. I think I had these listed pretty high, maybe at like 95, but the person was able to snag them because they got timed, I think, just right for either my 30 or my 30% off offers that I send on Sundays on Poshmark. So they sold for $66. They were only listed for 8 days, but I did make $42.58 on those. The next item hasn't yet sold. I think this was the one pair that wasn't included in like the new rack with all of those, because this was a much different size. And these were a pair of Judy Blue skinny fit jeans. I do love selling Judy Blue. Even though they were skinny fit, I decided to purchase them. I still stand behind this purchase though, because Judy Blue for me does always sell. The skinnies just take a little bit longer. So we're going to see how this one does eventually. And yeah, I do think they will sell. Next were these St. John's Sport black pants. These were like, they were kind of hard to list. It was hard to know how to categorize them because they weren't really a trouser, but they weren't really a denim, but they weren't really like, I don't know. I kind of just put everything in the keywords because they were kind of like a stretched denim feeling, but like not quite. So it was really hard. I do always list the material content so somebody could see it that way. These sold on Poshmark for $29. This was another one I think sold with my 30% off offer. I think I had it listed maybe for $45. Sold for $29 after 25 days, and I made $12.98. On the exact same day, a different buyer snagged these Chico's So Slimming high-rise denim jeans, and they also sold on Poshmark for $29 with that discount after 25 days, and I made $12.98. So it was fun to see those come in my house on the same day and then leave my house on the same day. The next ones have not yet sold, surprisingly, and it was this pair of Abercrombie & Fitch baggy low-rise jeans. Very trendy, very good condition, great size. These have been getting a lot of attention, especially on Poshmark, but they haven't sold yet. So I know I have them listed for like 45 or 55 based on the size, based on the style, based on the sell-through, but probably something I'm going to have to drop the price down on. Ironically, this other pair of Abercrombie & Fitch sold first, and I was expecting it to kind of go the other way. I thought these I might have a little hard time with, and the baggy ones would sell faster. But the ones that did sell were the 90s straight jeans, and these were a great sale. These sold on Poshmark for $41 after 81 days, and I made $24.90. Now the next one on my list I have as unsold, but fun fact, these sold like right before I pushed record. So I won't have all the numbers for you, but I can report these have now sold, and it was a pair of Everlane 90s cheeky jeans. If you're a viewer of the channel, you might be giggling because I've been talking about how I'm really struggling to sell Everlane denim, but then I kept finding more of it in my death pile, so I kept listing it. And I gotta say, my Everlane denim has started selling again. So maybe it's because I started reducing the price and having better managed expectations for it, which is important, right? I adjusted and now they're selling. But I do think of the ones that I am more willing to pick up, the 90s cheeky jean is one that sells better for me. This was also a size 31, so in a larger size, it was also more likely to sell better. And it just sold. I accepted an offer for $30 on Poshmark. So yeah, I probably made like $15 or so after that. And it was listed for probably around 5 months or so. Next and last for this trip, the 15th item were this pair of Athleta Brooklyn pants. I think I remember finding this on the putback rack, and they sold on Poshmark for $36 after 45 days, and I made $20.90. I thought this was going to be a good pickup. The Brooklyn pants always do really well for me. I could tell it was new because it said Brooklyn pants right on the inner tag, so that's an indicator that it is newer. And they were, again, a great size. So again, quick reminder, I spent $128.67 to purchase 15 items. 10 of my 15 items have sold. So that is a 66% sell-through rate at this point in time. I am pretty happy with that. And my total profit thus far, and if you have been watching the series where I did some bad math, this is the correct math now moving forward. So my total profit as of today for this haul, with all of my cost of goods taken out, is $173.73. So that is in the green with 5 items left to sell that will be pure profit left on top of that. All right, moving into Thriftmas Day 10, my total spent was $92.95. So I didn't spend quite as much and I only picked up 13 items. My cost of goods that day was $7.15. So a little bit lower there too. But this was the day I found my favorite item in all of Thriftmas in July. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But the first item that I picked up were these OOFOS. They were called the OO clog, like OOO clog. They always have very interesting names. And I never find OOFOS. This might have been, I actually think this was my first time picking up OOFOS. And I'm happy to report that they sold on Poshmark for $38 in only 11 days. And I made $20.93. So very happy with my first OOFOS pickup. They were in really, really good condition. The next were these Air Jordan 1 mid, like a gold black. These have not yet sold. Some of my Air Jordans like sell really fast, and then others just I cannot get to sell. So I am still figuring these out. I am not a sneakerhead. If you have any tips and tricks down in the comments, please let me know, but we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for these apparently. But my sale of the day, actually my sale of the series, were these Veronica Beard Hendrix clog. These were a gorgeous black leather like platform clog. Veronica Beard is so expensive and retails so high and resells really well. So when I found these like just sitting on, not even in a new cart, but like up on the rack, I was like, my jaw dropped. And then if anyone happens to remember or wants to go back and watch the video, as I was looking at these, I like saw the OOFOS clogs like off the side, and I was like, oh, squirrel, and like grabbed those also. So I found these both in like 30 seconds. And these even had not a scratch on the front, but like almost an indent where you can tell like something rubbed against it, but it didn't actually scratch the leather. So of course I listed that, photographed it, was worried that that was gonna poorly, affect it. But it still sold really well, really fast. These sold on eBay for $115. I picked them up for $12, and they were listed for 49 days, and I made $85.93. So my profit on that item at $85 almost paid for the entire haul of $92. So that is best case scenario. Next, really awesome bread and butter brand is this J. McLaughlin Catalina cloth paisley top. Catalina cloth is their best selling fabric. And it sold on eBay for $22, in 91 days, and I made $10.59. All right, that moves us into a string of some not solds, unfortunately. First was this Peter Millar Crown Crafted shirt, like golf. It's like a really, really, really lightweight, almost a sweater, but like a long sleeve shirt, like one of those in-betweeners. And Peter Millar I've been struggling with, so like sometimes I'll pick it up, sometimes I won't. I did look up the Crown Crafted line, and specifically that is why I ended up picking it up. But who knows, maybe I'm gonna have to wait till next golf season for it to sell. I did miss, the best selling time, I think, for Peter Millar, but who knows. Next was this Fair Harbor t-shirt. I have heard good things about Fair Harbor, but don't really have much experience with it, so I decided to pick it up. It is just a really basic t-shirt, so it hasn't yet sold. It was, I think, the like actual t-shirt price of like $2 or $3, not the $5 that they always have the women's stuff at, but the men's stuff, they sometimes do a t-shirt price, and so I don't think I paid a ton for this. The next two are the Bordeaux Gemma dress. They're these really pretty, like lacy dresses, and neither of these have sold, but if you watch my videos, you may have recently seen me either in a ship with me or what sold video, I can't remember it, that I sold a different color that I got on a different day, and it sold really well. So hopefully that's a good indicator. These two might just take a little bit longer, and they will eventually sell. Bordeaux is a brand that is sold at Revolve. And then from there, everything else has sold. So yay! The next one, number 9, was this Toad & Co. jumpsuit. It was like a blue floral pattern. Love selling Toad & Co. It's like a really nice athleisure, kind of outdoorsy brand. Had never found a jumpsuit before, but hey, I'm not a hater. And this sold on Poshmark for $30 in just 4 days, making me $16.85. This brand was formerly known as Horny Toad. It was the older label, and I honestly still pick that up if I find it and it's in good condition, and then just list it under Toad & Co. Next was a brand I was not familiar with, but it looked really nice. The label looked, high quality, high value. So I looked it up and I was like, this looks like it could sell pretty well, and it did. And it was this St. James blue striped dress, just like this nautical shift dress. It was like almost like a performance wear, like sweat wicking fabric, really nautical, really coastal. Would be great for somebody like that owns a yacht or goes sailing or something. I don't know. I don't do those things. Would you wear a dress to do either of those things? I guess to be on a yacht, yes, you would. I don't know about sailing though. And it sold on Poshmark for $45 after just 12 days, making me $28.85. So hey, Bolo for St. James if anybody finds it. Another great pickup was this Quince item. I mentioned for Thriftmas Day 9 that I really like picking up Quince, and I found this 100% silk green shirt dress. So it had a really pretty waist tie, and the only slight problem on this one is that when I picked it up, I had missed in like itty bitty hole that was like right here. And actually one of you that's a viewer that I see sometimes, she commented on the video like, oh, I saw that, and it had the hole. Had you seen that yet? And very nice of you to point out. Thank you, because I wouldn't have want to missed it. Thankfully, by the time I saw that comment, I had already photographed it, or I was trying to photograph it, and I found it. So I set it aside and to be repaired. The good thing is it was right on the seam. So we were able, my mom, who's a seamstress, was able to just stitch it right into the seam. So it looked beautiful. It looked flawless. Very thankful for my mom. I can sew. I have a sewing machine, but she's much more talented than I, and it looked flawless. I got a 5-star review. So I guess at first I was upset that I missed it in the store. I missed the flaw and I picked it up, but it ended up being a good news story because it still sold for $40. I had it listed for $45, and I think somebody scooped it up with my 10% off offer discounted ship, and was only listed for 23 days, and I made $24.85. So if you're not already looking for Quince, definitely something you want to keep an eye out for. Another one to keep an eye out for is Hilo Hattie. They are made in Hawaii, Hawaiian like traditional wear, really, really beautiful prints and bright colors. They just always make me smile. Everything I see from Hilo Hattie makes me smile. And I found a really beautiful red Hawaiian dress, and it sold on Poshmark for $35. It was a plus size, which is great. I usually only find the smaller sizes in this brand. and it was listed for 25 days and I made $20.85. This one was also one that I was very excited to see sell quickly, because by the time I was listing these in July, I'm already almost starting to think about fall from a reselling perspective. So I'm glad that it moved quickly and that I'm not sitting on it this winter. And then last but not least was this L Space pink knit dress. L Space is a pricey brand also. I've actually never found it before. Really cute, just like pink shift sweater dress. And it sold on Poshmark for $45, was listed for 28 days, and I made $26.53. So again, my total spent on this haul was $92.95 for 13 items. And as of right now, 8 out of the 13 have sold. So again, I'm pretty happy with that number. At the end of the series, we have one more video left before we're going to dive into actual Thriftmas in December. At the end, I'll do a quick run through of it. If anything else has sold, I'll just tell you, yes, it sold. And of all 12 days. So hopefully some more of these might have sold by then as well. So my total profit with all of my cost of goods taken out, so only in the green with correct math, was $199.63. And I still have 5 items left to sell with all of those being pure profit. So $199 of profit thus far on this day. The day before I had $173 of profit. So between the two of them, we're looking at almost $400 for 30 minutes or so that I spent shopping in store. Obviously there was processing time, photographing, stuff like that. But processing for these items is usually faster than like going to the bins or the swap meet, where there's a lot more cleaning and stain treating and stuff, or like flaws that I have missed. I did have the one, of course, on this trip, but the Veronica Beard clogs making me, $85 certainly helped drive up my profit. But all of those bread and butter items are, really what quote unquote pay the bills in my business and during Thriftmas. All right, that is it for today's video. We are going to have one more of these what sold videos up and coming on my channel, and then yay, I am so excited to start shopping again, because I've been trying to not shop as much in anticipation. So we're going to go in Goodwill every single day. You're going to shop the racks with me. We are going to see what we find. We're going to be looking for some Christmas presents also for my friends and family, and fingers crossed we find some goodies. So thank you so much. Please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that upcoming series. It is so much fun. Everybody always tells me it's my favorite thing that they get to watch on my channel, so I hope that is true this time around too. Please give the video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye.